All right, welcome again. We're here today for the CalAPA version 8 materials preview. We will have a Google folder that we'll be putting in the chat with watermark guides, draft guides that are almost final drafts that will be released. The templates will also be coming soon, but we'll be taking a look at some of the templates within the presentation, especially around some of the updates. So if we can go to the next slide. All right, so today we will be having introductions. If you have a chance, we will be, oops, goodness, I'm trying to admit somebody and I should not do that and pay attention. We'll be talking about norms and outcomes, final recommendations from the RDI TPA work group and how they are impacting the work of this performance assessment, an update on condition codes, some updates for cycles 1, 2, and 3, and some upcoming program supports and contact information. We can go to the next slide. Okay, here's our team. So the Cal APA team, we have a CTC performance assessment development team. We're joined here by Julie Holmes. Give a little wave. Heather Kennedy, I think she is going to be here, but she's not quite online yet. I'm Marissa. Luna Lopez, and then we have our director, Juliet Waltliner, Dr. Waltliner. She's the director of research, evaluation, and assessment. For those of you that may not be aware, this is a new division within the CTC that is now managing all performance assessment. We are also joined today by some partners from Evaluation Systems. Reggie, I don't know if you want to unmute and say hello or if you want to just wave.
I always would like to say good morning to everyone and thank you for joining us for this important. We've been waiting for you. So thank you for joining us. And we're joined by Lori Thornley, who's running the slide deck. A lot of you know have interacted with Lori. Thanks, Lori. And Xavier Webb is on the team also. He couldn't be here today because he's fighting a cold. So summer cold. So, but he's worked with Marissa and the rest of the team and bringing this deck together and the materials. So thanks, Marissa.
Thank you. All right, go to the next slide. If you could, thank you if you could please introduce yourself in the chat. Name, position, institution. And we were also wondering too, maybe your feeling on your experience with Cal APA, whether you feel like you're new, whether you feel like you're kind of in the middle, or whether you feel like you're pretty experienced. If you could put something like that in the chat with us too, so that way we can check in and see. I want to make sure that we are gearing program supports towards our audience. All right, thank you. I'll give you just a second to kind of pop some of those in. Maybe we can go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so some norms for our meeting today. If you could, please keep your microphone muted unless you are speaking. It's helpful if your camera's on, but we recognize that not all cameras can be on, so that's just fine. Please use the chat feature to post questions that are related to the current topic. We'll be answering things in the chat or elevating them and answering them aloud. Let's pose questions that are of a general focus, not program specific or candidate specific. If you have any of those, please email them in so we can respond in that way. Always my worst thing of multitasking, but if we can avoid multitasking, it would help to ensure we hear all information. And we'll honor the time of all participants by moderating participation. But please do, like I said, if you have questions, concerns, I feel like we've been with this group a lot, so if you do have questions, feel free to raise your hand or put them in the chat so we can answer them. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so today the goals will be to build and maintain our learning community and partnerships. I had the pleasure of speaking to a program coordinator yesterday with a concern, and he said, I will reach out to my fellow programs that I've been working with in like a mini PLC. And it's wonderful to see folks, build these communities within this space and share best practices because like in teaching, the teacher next door and your grade level, and subject matter uh, folks that you work with, they're your best resource. We're going to be previewing the changes implemented for version 8 of cycles 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to look ahead at some of the coming program supports. And the links to register for many of those are going to be in this presentation. And this presentation will be put into the Google folder at the end of the presentation. And I will also email out the link to the recording once it's posted to YouTube. Hopefully we can get that done pretty quickly. Go to the next slide. Okay, so the version 8 materials folder, if someone could grab that and potentially put it into the chat, I would greatly appreciate it. I was not able to put a program contact list, unfortunately, so I will go ahead and drop that in after. I know that there are several folks that are like, well, I'm not on this list or I'm not receiving emails. I hope that perhaps you might have received 2 emails reminding you of this instead of none. We're working on it and making sure that we're improving our communication so that way folks can be invited. And then also the CalAPA news email list. Encourage faculty, mentors, other folks besides just coordinators to sign up for that as well if they're interested in attending any of these meetings. They are open to all faculty, all mentors, all folks that are supporting folks through these performance assessments. I did include the ADS user guide as well as a summary overview of some changes from version 7 to 8, just a quick bulleted list. There are the watermark drafts in that folder, and these are of the guides. And again, these are not the guides to publish. These are not the guides to put out to candidates. These are more for your information to look over to see some of the adjustments from year 7 to year 8. And you'll notice some updates to how they are structured, like and we'll talk about that. And then also, like I said, the slide deck from today's presentation will also be in the folder. Probably go to the next slide. Um, this is a link to the final recommendations for the work group to redesign, review and design the implementation of the teaching performance assessments. There is a link to this item. It is published on the Commission's website. To the greatest extent possible, the executive leadership at the Commission has asked us to align with these recommendations that make sense for CalAPA. And so all of these recommendations do not apply to CalAPA because some of them are very CalTPA specific, but I did want to link this in here and explain how some of the work done by the RDI TPA work group is impacting CalAPA. Now we can go to the next slide. And a lot of it actually is in this space of condition codes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first page. So we have a couple of slides of condition codes that we'll be putting in front of you. And this is not a final list. Again, this is a preview of where we are right now in this process. But what you'll notice here is that the vast majority of condition codes, with the exemption of the submission videos determined to be staged or scripted, are all to do with technical issues around the candidate's submission. So if a video is unable to be played, that's not evidence that we can consider. And so that will be a condition code. But because the intention is really to push a lot of the academic components of it into rubrics. And you'll see that as you take a look at the assessment guides and you look at the rubrics. You know, you'll see that level one may have more items in it because a candidate did not have that evidence that previously was a condition code. Let's take a look at the next slide. And again, these are condition codes that will be used for missing evidence. So again, the biggest thing I would do when I was teaching candidates through the teacher performance assessment was just to help them with executive functioning. Sometimes folks just need the guidance on how to save their documents and to upload them. And there is information in the assessment guides for folks to do that. So you'll notice this is a lot fewer condition codes than were previously on the website and that were previously used. And again, the intention behind this is that condition codes will be primarily for technical issues and the academic content components will be managed in rubrics. All right, go to the next slide. Okay, so some updates for all cycles. The table outlining the essential questions for each rubric has been moved into the overview. So that's just a structural change of where the table was previously in the assessment guide, and now it's brought up to the top. Many of the constructs for rubric levels 4 and 5 only had, many of the sections only had one construct before, but we went through and made sure that each level 4 and 5, which I always, the 3 is, the meets expectation. So that's the goal of the candidate is to look at that 3. A level 4 is everything in a 3 plus a 4, and a level 5 is everything in a 3 plus a 4 plus a 5. And so I refer to it as meeting the expectation, then going above, and then going above and beyond, right? And so the above and beyond have been slimmed down to have one construct at each rubric level. Um, like I said previously, some previous condition codes have been moved into rubrics. So take a look at that. And the rubrics now follow their associated step. So if the assessment guide is talking about step one, the rubrics for step one will be right after that instruction, and then it'll go into step two, and rather than all being together at the end. And several templates and parts have some name changes if they were reorganized, and the glossary has been updated. Okay. Now, the next sections will be going into cycle 1, 2, and 3. Cycle 1 did not have any major changes other than the ones that were outlined globally. I think the biggest updates for cycle 1 had to do with rubrics and then the structure of the guide by moving the rubrics behind each step. So I don't have any major things to talk about for cycle 1. Go ahead and check in on cycle 2. Okay. Some of the major changes in cycle 2 is a shift in language from co-facilitation to facilitation. And so the candidate will be facilitating their community of practice, which is what they were doing before, but co-facilitation led to some misunderstandings for candidates, so we just wanted to make it more clear. The placements, the community of practice, it has expanded with a greater number of placements. Many candidates are working in real contexts that are not just to one school site. And so we wanted to be able to open their PLC to make it more what they are doing in their real job. And an example for me personally, I was an education specialist working for a county office of education, teaching students with extensive support needs. The county office of districts would contract with the county office of education to have those students served in a different setting that had more resources. And so I was a county teacher in a district building on a district campus. But my colleagues were not that same campus. I was not, the principal didn't supervise me at that space. I had a coordinator that was in an office that managed 12 different sites. And so those folks were my teachers. That was my community of practice. And so we wanted to, the vast majority of candidates will continue to have their community of practice at one school site, but we wanted to make it available to folks who might be a special education teacher in that county setting, and to work with the folks that would make sense to them. And so that was the thinking behind expanding the community of practice. There are optional templates for meeting agendas and minutes. Again, optional, completely up to the candidate to use what they would like to use, what the program provides. But we did want to provide some kind of an optional template for folks to take a look at. This change happened earlier as a result of the RDI-TPA workgroup, but allowing for video edits. And so candidates are able to showcase their best work in their PLC by allowing for editing of videos. The big thing is we don't want fancy videos. We don't want that, that Star Wars language that just like rolls across. What we're really thinking about is and it was interesting. I had a candidate talk to me about this once that they really wanted to include another person at their school site, but the person gets phone calls a lot, like a vice principal or something that would get phone calls and have to step away from the PLC. And they really wanted to be able to include them, but because of the uncontrollable, unpredictable nature of that person's job, they couldn't because of the requirement for a continuous video. So hopefully allowing for video evidence or edits to video evidence will allow candidates to truly showcase what they are doing in a meeting. So and commentary instead of annotations. This has been a conversation that's been happening across performance assessment. The video is what we're doing. The commentary is why we are doing. So we may say something in a meeting and then we would explain why we do that. And that's what the annotation is for, right? To explain the why. Instead of doing this with a video and then the tool within the e-portfolio, it will now be a Word document. So it will be the same prompts, the same capture. It's just a Word document that folks type in, and they'll say at minute 1, second 2, I said this, and the reason why is this. So it's the exact same thing as the annotation. It's just a different way of doing it in a Word document. And we are also, I believe, allowing for folks to do their annotations via video. So they can just speak directly to camera, talk about why they do one thing or another. And so it's just another way for folks to show what they know. Um, let's see here. Yes, I'm looking at a couple of questions. Yes, the candidates are allowed to put videos together, so splicing videos. So if that's what you intended there, Linda. Maybe cutting out some time that didn't necessarily speak to the intention of the video. Sometimes folks can, I don't know about you, but I've been around teachers for a while and they can bird walk sometimes and have different conversations. And unfortunately, with the time constraint, if folks couldn't allow for any of that, that might not be as responsive to the community that they're in. And so, but it also is sometimes great evidence can show up at minute 1.2 and then minute 7.3. And we want to make sure that we're allowing for candidates to really show their best work and the way that they meet that expectation by taking out some of those little bird walks. And um, I've been in many professional meetings where there have been, we go on to a topic and then we come back to it. And, we really wanted the candidates to be able to show their best evidence. And yes, there is a pretty good definition for the community of practice in the handbooks for candidates. Um, but that is opened up a little bit more, and you'll notice that it says, instead of saying in their school, it says in their educational context, because some folks are coming to this as school nurses, and maybe they work with other nurses at other sites, or some folks are coming, from different areas. As long as the administrative credential allows for folks to come with their years in these other areas, we wanted to make sure that we're honoring that. Yeah, Karen, I'm noticing your question. It says, yes, candidates will still need to quote specific evidence and analyze it in their comments. They will just be doing it in a Word doc rather than directly into the e-portfolio. So that way, hopefully, that will allow for a little bit more ease in showing what they know. Joe, I'm reading your question. So the two or more pieces of video put together will still match the required annotation. Yes. Yes, absolutely. So there is still a video time limit of 5 minutes, 6 minutes, depending upon the the stipulation. But yes, if a candidate has two pieces of video evidence that would really show what they know, yes, they can put them together and annotate that clip. Yeah, so you see one unedited video. Yes, yes. Sorry, Fall. I'm just making sure I'm answering the questions as we go along, so that way, um, yeah. If we could go to the next slide. So this is a sample planning meeting agenda. So this is in step 2, right? So this is not a video, right? The candidates they just turn in this agenda and their minutes as evidence for their planning, and then they record in the next step. So it's reviewing the mission, vision, and goals of their context, um, review and analyze data, what data sources, discussion of the data, identify their problem of practice, addressing the problem of practice, implement how they're going to implement the plan, and next steps for action. And so these align with what's asked in the rubrics. And again, this is optional. Candidates can use this template to plan. They can use something else. But again, these are still being finalized and making sure that we're aligning them clearly across the rubrics. If we can go to the next slide. I
Yeah.
think we
And I
have,
think, Marissa, you chose to specifically share this template because it is a new template.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you
Right.
for that, Lori.
Yeah.
The templates that we're sharing are going to be, I mean, I could have shared stuff that was old, but I didn't think you came here to see that today. So this is definitely one of the new pieces. And the next slide has the second part that's new. So this is just an agenda that's a sample one for an implementation meeting. So in the next step, just identifying grade levels, meeting date, start and end time, PLC norms, the participants and their role, what's the goal of this meeting, some early returns, new data based on the name strategy, summary of the meeting, and the next steps for the group. And so just very simple to help the candidates move along. Okay. Let me just look at this question real quick from CatWeb. This might have been answered. Okay, so clarification. Right. So the question that's in the chat saying that if a candidate has several meetings but someone had to leave the meeting or was interrupted, the candidate can put together video. So there is a requirement for 3 folks to be part of your candidate's PLC. They can have 5, they can have 7, and there's no requirement that they have to always be the exact same people. There should be a consistent group of folks, but that's part of why we recommend that they choose more than 3. So that way, if someone is unable to attend, and there might also be the circumstance where folks are meeting and they're like, you know what, well maybe we've been having this conversation, maybe we need to bring this person in and they can join our PLC and contribute in that way. So yes, the candidates can edit videos to bring them together, but yeah, they can put together videos and show and still show the criteria. Yes, to the next question, Alex Gonzalez posed, it's safe to allow for modifications. Absolutely. This is just like I said, a sample, not required, not any kind of expected agenda, especially if you are looking at this, you're like, ours is way better than that. Absolutely. Please do continue to use any materials that you are using to support your candidates. Yeah. So to the question about the clips merging from different meetings or be within the same one. Okay. Yeah. Um, I don't think that there is any stipulation in place at this time that the edits to videos need to all be like it has to be one meeting. Because the candidates will have three implementation meetings and they may have really great evidence from one meeting or another. And so, yes, they can bring that evidence together in an edited video. The concern I always have is just for continuity, right? And when they do annotations and they explain the what and why of things, we want to just make sure that it makes sense. And so, yes, a candidate can edit videos, put them together, but truly the intention is to just like I said, if great evidence happens at minute 1 and great evidence happens at minute 10, to be able to put that together because we don't want like 30 seconds of this and 10 seconds of this and for it to just kind of jump all over the place because that's really challenging to show evidence. I would say that a clip should be at least 1 minute to really show the conversation and what's happening. And many candidates will choose not to edit videos. They'll run their videos, continuously. But we don't at this time have any, and again, this is all new with editing videos, so we're learning as we go through. At this time, we don't have any specific amount of time, like Alex is asking, there's no specific amount of time for continuous video. I just think about watching video of evidence of someone, and it's hard to, oh, I mean, sometimes 30 seconds shows some really great evidence, but I would think about a minute. Reggie or Lori, anything to add about that on the scoring side? I just want to make sure.
I think as much as the continuous video as possible would be helpful. I think what you said about, at least a minute, so it's not choppy.
Mhm.
I think the assessors would love to see some continuity in the videos, but giving some flexibility, knowing that candidates might have to capture things in separate meetings.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Mm. Okay, so no, there are not samples at this time of videos, especially ones with any kind of edits to them, because this was very new. That was implemented, I think, in April or May of this past year. So we're within the first 6 months of this. Um, but the goal will be to get some more samples out to the field. And as we are rolling this out, there may be samples that come out that don't necessarily have video, but will have annotations tied to them because the video oftentimes is what holds up a submission from being made a sample submission. And so we are having conversations about how the sample materials and model materials will come out.
And remember, it's a lot because we cannot publish the video because of some, security reasons. So we can't publish the videos that candidates would take of meetings. So that'd be another thing. I mean, we could create where you and I are doing it together. But so that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
And there's another question from Ryan. You could see that too.
Yes, absolutely. I think if we go to because I and the agenda, sorry, I put the agendas in for sample agendas for cycle 2, and then I put a template for annotations and commentary switch over for cycle 3. So maybe we can go to the next slide and
Sure.
get to that one.
Sure. I think in a simple statement, you can say annotations have been replaced by a written template.
Yes. So the biggest change to leadership cycle 3, and actually the only major change other than some of the global ones that we talked about, are allowing for video edits and the commentary template instead of annotations. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is a sample of a commentary template. So the title of the video is there, and then describe how the volunteer teacher assessed student learning during the CSTP focused lesson. And so the candidate would then say, in my video at minute 0, 32 seconds, this is what happened. And so instead of the drop-down menu where they'd select the annotation title and then writing the annotation in the box, they would do it in a Word document. And again, with the cycle 3 is a little different than cycle 2 with the number of meetings that folks have. So in cycle 2, when they have 3 PLC meetings, and that question of, well, what if they have really great evidence in their meeting 1 and their meeting 3? Can they put that together? Again, for continuity, hopefully like a minute of time, so that way folks can see, what's happening. But this will be just like this for cycle 2 as well, when they have the same annotation titles and they'll just be typing in a Word box. And so and part of the reasoning for that is we got some really good feedback in the literacy performance assessment from folks saying that this was just more accessible to them. And sometimes there is the drop down menu and the certain amount of characters to put in. It can be a lot when uploading a document, whereas this is just something they can work on, save, and put in rather than spending more time in their e-portfolio. Um, so I hope that answers the question about what annotations are going to look like versus commentary. Truly, the annotations are still, the essence of them is still there. It's just a different way of sending them in. Um, I I'm seeing, let me just go back to some questions. So thank you. Um, So as far as assessors and training, we're still working with and figuring all that out. We need to meet with our lead assessors before all these things become operational and make sure that that we're all on the same board with folks, having but we do really appreciate all of our assessors and our lead assessors, and we want to make sure to recognize their hard work and leadership through these cycles in forming and supporting new and aspiring administrators. There are some, these are some kind of changes. The passing standards are not being adapted. There's not going to be a standard setting study because some of these changes, the reason we had to kind of shut down registration for one chunk to another was because there were technical things that had to be changed in the system. And going from an annotation to a commentary, that was a technical issue that had to be changed. But we will be looking at this. We will be evaluating it for a version 9 update and what's working and what's not working so well with allowing for edits and then moving to commentary, because the essence of the performance assessment is, can we coach a teacher? Can we run a meeting with, with a name strategy and use data to make decisions? That's the essence of it. How we communicate that out, that's the part that we are kind of looking at here with switching from annotations to commentary. The next question that Linda had here, assessors will be looking at commentary and videos at the same time. So just like they had in the past where a video is there and then the annotations are on the side, they'll have them up side by side, because the video is what we do and then the annotation is explaining the why, right? I think about television shows like The Office, where they show something that happens and then they have a one-on-one interview and the person says, what they would do. And I think about it like a person in a PLC meeting might redirect a group of members, and they won't turn to the camera and go, I did this because I wanted to keep these folks on track, right? They wouldn't necessarily do that in front of their group, but in their annotations or in their commentary, they would say, at minute this, I had to redirect my group because I needed to keep them on track. We had a limited number of time for this meeting, and I wanted to make sure that we maximized our time together. That's what the annotation, that's what those pieces will do, and it will continue to do that, but they will be looking at them at the same time. Okay. So looking at Joe's question, rationale for candidates coaching or facilitation moves was so key to the annotation. Do these commentary prompts get at that rationale? They absolutely should. They absolutely should. The candidates should get to like the explanation of what happened in the meeting and why they did what they did. And some of that in the guide, you'll notice in cycle 2 has been shifted because what goes into a meeting agenda and then what a person does to facilitate a successful meeting within their context, they're different. Sometimes the agenda is more specific to the task, but then those facilitation moves, as Joe talks about, like how we move people forward, they're going to be different in every context and depending upon the strategy and what you're working on. I I'm wondering if we should, I think there is a page limit to annotations. I'm not remembering it off the top of my head. I could take a look at the guide, Delia, but
I'll check it.
okay, thank you so
Like
much.
cycle 3 guys, a page limit to the annotation. Yeah.
Yeah, the page limit for commentary. I think that they're the
Kat read
same in
8
cycle 2.
pages. Kat said she read 8 pages.
Okay,
Kat,
perfect.
thank you.
Thank you. Fall's question. So the question, the annotation topics, they have shifted over to commentary topics. So they will still be the same that they would address with annotations. It would just be in a Word document rather than in the annotation tool in the ePortfolio.
The question about they're optional. Michelle is asking, they're optional, but seem highly recommended. They are optional.
They're not optional.
They're not optional.
Right.
This particular one is not
Yeah,
optional.
the only template that is optional are the new meeting agenda and minutes templates. They can use those or they can use their own agenda format. But all the other templates are required.
Right. And they will no longer have access to the annotations. So they won't be able to choose between annotation and commentary. It's just now commentary.
The annotation tool within the ePortfolio submission system has been dismantled.
No. Is that question? I was just making sure. Diana, the question for cycles 2 and 3, narrative analysis will need to be included with commentary. Absolutely. That is important for what the annotations were and what the commentary will continue to be. Yes. So yeah, I saw Vivian's question. Commentary places annotations. Absolutely. Um, I believe I see Pam Castleman's question about when the final documents are going to be available. Is that is that something you can speak to, Reggie? I thought we had a date set coming up like next week.
Date for
The final formal documents available for
oh,
CalAPA.
the documents will be ready July 15th.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
site will go live
I will go live
on
correct,
July
with the
15th. Yep.
documents.
Mhm.
Right.
And we'll have password protected materials
Zip
available to folks
folders.
Right.
that we
And
can.
and per usual, a communication will go out to program coordinators with the password for those zip files.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading in the chat. Make sure. Okay. Yeah, so for fall, so the annotation topics are now commentary topics. The candidates don't choose which topic, but they still will. So they will still say, okay, this is where the volunteer teacher's assessment of student learning happened. They will still address that like they would, right? If they were to say this is in the video, they would just say this happened at this time in the video in a Word document rather than tagging it the video and then putting it in a box that in the annotation tool in their e-portfolio. So they absolutely still need to demonstrate, right? And then they do need to talk about it and do that narrative analysis of what they're doing in their video. They'll just do it in a different way. They'll do it in a template, in a Word document, as opposed to the e-portfolio system where they would um, choose an annotation topic and then explain that annotation topic. Just making sure. Okay.
There was a question about the sandbox to help with submissions. I think with the framework of the new guides, we believe are going to help with the submission because they're going to see what evidence they need for every step, right, in the guides. And we think that's going to be helpful. Yeah, but we'd love to get your feedback on that after a while once what you hear about that. And there is documented as they go through what they need to submit a checklist of in the guide about what they need to submit. That's in the guide. So I saw there was some questions about that. Sorry to interrupt the meeting, Marissa.
No, it helped me to be able to read the annotations. Or not, sorry, the chat and making sure that we're addressing the questions. But no, absolutely. Thank you for that, Reggie. So,
and I was going to say we found tremendous success by putting the structuring, as Marissa said, the format of the guides so that we have the evidence, what you need to submit after every step. We found that to be less confusing for candidates and enjoyable for candidates as opposed to having all the rubrics at the end and all the way the version 7 is.
So there was another question about edits to these guides. These are draft guides, and so they're in final production now. If there is any change that needs to be made to these guides and errata will be issued. And I think we already found one that may be of concern. And so the condition code for staging and scripting videos, it is such a challenge, and our lead assessors for cycle 2 would speak to this, to look at what is staged and scripted versus, more just as natural as it would happen. And so we want to make sure that any video that a candidate receives a condition code for being staged or scripted is going to have multiple sets of eyes on it. And at this point we have, I think, in place 4 or 5 people that watch a video to make that determination together. Because again, we don't want this to be just one person making that judgment call. And so right now in one of the rubrics, it's listed as a level 1 construct to that the video was staged and scripted. And so that's actually going to come out of the level 1 construct and be continue to be the process where we review it by multiple folks. Because like I said, um, one person's judgment is not enough on some of these, especially when we are making these kind of determinations. So that's something that we are going to have to update in cycle 2. Um, but the the vast majority of what's here in this form is what's going to be part of the operational materials. But we do make iterative changes every year. So we go from version 7 to version 8 to version 9. And so that change, hopefully we won't have too many changes, coming up for version 9. But again, we need to update our materials every year with what we learned. And when I was teaching at UC, I would update my syllabi every semester with things that I learned and things that candidates needed to be able to improve, what I was doing and meet the needs of folks where they are. And so that's the reasoning behind these versions and updating them each year, is just to look at what we learned and move forward. Let's see. Yeah. Joe made a comment here about that there's no stamp and specific titles. Yes, absolutely. They reference points in the video and calling out evidence, and that will be a major way that folks will be providing that narrative to what is happening. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm just keep reading. Let me see. So the commentary template is going to be replacing annotations for cycle 2 and cycle 3 to try to stay focused in the presentation. I did, what's really new in cycle 2 with those templates, and then what's new in cycle 3, which was the commentary. And rather than showing you 2 commentary templates, we just showed the one in cycle 3. But yes, annotations will be replaced in cycle 2 and cycle 3 with commentary.
There are some questions coming up about the sandbox.
Yes.
I'm trying to respond to them. So there is, it'd be helpful to know what could be in a sandbox. It sounds like there's some concern about supporting candidates uploading videos. There is, Laura, you want to talk about that?
So Reggie, what I believe the coordinators are talking about, it's something that has been asked for in the past, and it continues to be. It's not a insignificant thing. Up till now, we have not been able to provide program coordinator accounts in the ePortfolio system, and that continues to be the case. So access to the ePortfolio, a sandbox, so to speak, of the ePortfolio submission system.
Right. What let's think about what we can't give access into the e-portfolio system, but maybe some guides to help. That's what I would love to hear about. What would be helpful if we cannot give you access to the registration? What could be helpful for you? We do have information for the candidates on how to upload the videos, step by step, even in the
Yes.
preparation materials.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see how we can help you or help the candidate, because if they're running into tech trouble, we ask them to contact the customer contact center. They're running into tech trouble. So the burden wouldn't be on you. But it'd be interesting to hear some more about it and think of ways that we might be able to support without going through the registration system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if I can
I'm
jump
going
in
to put, go ahead.
just with a thought. I know in our program, a lot of times we just wait until one of our folks registers, but it's a clunky process, right? We have our orientation, we say, hey, register for cycle one, and then we bring up their screen
Right.
to show people, because really it's more on those a little, I mean, I know the threshold for tech savviness is pretty low on submissions, but you would be shocked at how low some of our candidates' tech savviness is. So, like really walking through, like I personally am so excited that you can make edits to kind of trim out some of the,
Uh-huh.
non-related
Uh-huh.
material is so handy. I already know in order to show my candidates how to even make a video edit is going to be 30 minutes of time in class to just say, hey, here's a video and here's how you actually splice a video. And so anything that we can have the ability to say, okay, guys, when you go to the registration page and when you're looking at this is how you upload your video. And then on that, this is your commentary area where you're able to either explain in text version, or if you hit this button, this is where you can record your video or upload a video of you explaining, your community of practice time. It really is helpful when we can go through like step by step. Even what I've done in the past is somebody's logged on and I've kind of made a little video webinar of like, okay, hit this and hit, so they can go back at home and be like, okay, wait, let me rewind. He went to this button, then he went to this button, then he went to this button. It's
Mm,
really like that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to get so nitty gritty that
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is intuitive. It doesn't matter how intuitive it is. There's going to be people that are like, I don't know what I'm doing. And
Yeah, this might be a good time to remind everybody, and for those who may not be aware that this is available, I'm going to put a link in the chat. But on the CalAPA preparation materials webpage, there is a guide. It's a candidate guide to using the Pearson ePortfolio system, and it is a step-by-step, screenshot by screenshot slide document that takes a candidate through uploading all of their materials step by step, part by part. And it has screenshots of each of those steps. So if you weren't previously aware of that, go take a look, definitely take a look. What's up there right now is configured for the current system, but come next week, July 15th, when the website goes live, it will be updated to match the new configuration. And so that's there. If you've never seen it before, I encourage you to go take a look at that guide.
That will be the chat along with a recording of this presentation, and the deck will be available. So the link will be available for you. And we could put the link in the Google folder too, I guess. Would that be helpful?
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
I think if we can go to the next slide, we might answer some of the questions. So upcoming program supports. I saw the question about deep dive trainings coming up. So if we can go to the next slide. So this is just some final information about, the submission deadlines, the changing over from the annotate. Really, I think that was the biggest chunk of it, was switching from annotations to commentary was what required the system to have a bit of a reboot. And because of because of those structural modifications, that's why they were kind of kicked out and issued their refund, and then they had to re-register for the new version. Go to the next slide.
Yeah, so Marissa is talking about cycle 2 and 3 candidates. Cycle 1 candidates are not impacted because the structure of the cycle 1 did not change. All the parts and pieces are exactly the same. For cycles 2 and 3, we had changes to the number of videos, and we added new templates, and so the system had to be rebuilt with new buckets to receive each of those templates. And so candidates with cycle 2 and cycle 3 registrations that didn't complete their submissions before the switchover, it was necessary to withdraw their registrations. They will be receiving a communication this week notifying them of that, and that, oops, I didn't mean to click that. That they are getting a refund, and they'll have to re-register when registration opens back up on the 15th. And it's just because their current registrations don't fit the configuration for the new assessment. So it's a technical thing.
The next slide that Lori alluded to, we are going to be having program office hours, Fridays 9 to 9:30. Please look out in the PSD for the Zoom links for those. It'll be the first and third Friday. We are having candidate office hours. So if you do have candidates that you want to send to us to get any answers, or if you want to come yourself, we always love having faculty attend these as well. If you're able to come, and there's sometimes folks have questions. I will say this will not be an opportunity for someone to come and argue if they got a condition code for staging or scripting. If someone shows up and says, I need to talk about this, I will make sure to let them know that that's not the time for this. This is for questions and such, and moving forward. But yeah, absolutely, that will be available every Thursday, and we'll start probably after Labor Day and run through the end of May with office hours for candidates. The monthly leadership PLCs. As you know, as you dig into these materials, as we have our our deep dives into cycles 1, 2, and 3 coming up in August, topics that you as a community would like to discuss. At this point, we don't have any set topics for any of these monthly meetings, but we would love to hear from you as a community and how you would like to address these. We can go to the next slide. These are the deep dive dates. I got that question in the chat. We do have materials coming out the 15th, and then we do have these starting, that first good week of August. I think it's important for folks to be able to look at these materials, dig into them, read through them, and that way when we do these deep dives and go through, the questions will just be much more rich and much more focused. And so we're going to do cycle 1, 2, and 3 on 3 Thursdays. These will be recorded and they will be on our YouTube channel. And what was interesting is a candidate reached out to me through the CalAPA website who is in a program and actually found the deep dive video and asked if they could attend live. I was like, I don't know, it's really the intended audience is coordinators and faculty, but watching the videos is not a problem. So your folks are very resourceful in trying to get information about this. So I just thought that was interesting. But like I said, the links are going to be embedded in this presentation, and then we will send out the reminders of these events, and they are open to faculty, mentors, they are open to coordinators, whomever wants to attend. They're more than welcome to attend. Let me see here. Next slide, please. These are the digging deeper sessions that we have named. We're going to start off in September with a program guide review and candidate supports. Then we're going to be talking about coaching and mentoring teachers and leaders, using video commentary to reflect and improve practice. This goes to that narrative analysis. So often, candidates, they just want to summarize what they did, but they got to get deeper into that analysis and explain the why. And then starting the year off right, supporting all educators. That's in January. And we will be announcing the spring set of digging deeper sessions. The thing we're waiting on is scheduling the Meredith Fellows Implementation Conference. We are looking at doing that coming up in February of 2026 because so much of the rich resources that come from that conference are around, what programs do with their candidates to move them forward. And with version ones of all teacher performance assessments and some of these changes to the CalAPA, it was thought that we need to let people actually implement these things and then come together for that Meredith Fellows implementation conference. But we will be publishing digging deeper dates and sessions, most likely in late November, December, so that way folks can put them on their calendar for spring semester. Next slide, please.
Chris, I saw something that was a question someone's
Oh,
asking
sure.
about the scoring dates for APA. I just looked at it and you are correct. It says in the scoring dates, it says Ed Specialist TPA. So we'll confirm that and get a fix for that immediately, so that the APA dates are there.
I think the APA dates are there, Reggie. The link that's in the chat, it might be, I didn't look at it, might be
I
TPA.
looked. Yeah, I just looked at the APA dates and it says Ed Specialist TPA.
No, if you go to the CalAPA homepage and click on the score reporting dates, they are CalAPA dates.
Yeah, I found them there yesterday.
Yeah, they're there.
They're there?
Yep.
These are some dates for upcoming coordinator meetings. The first one, the CalPA new coordinator meeting. We have in past done those as like a full day meeting. We're going to try something new and condense it down and have folks come. And if you're a new coordinator for Cal TPA, you'll go into one space. If you're a Cal APA coordinator, you'll go into a different space, and then even divvying up what Cal TPA folks do, because there's the education specialist versions, PK3, multiple subjects, there's so many different versions of it. So we're going to try to bring these folks together, trim it down, and then have some of these other deep dives to supplement some of these spaces. We do have our winter coordinator meeting and summer coordinator meetings, so you can go ahead and put those on the calendar. And apologies this past year for the winter coordinator meeting shifting. That fire, it was 6 months ago now that those fires were raging through Southern California that forced us to move that date to be able to accommodate all folks. So, but barring anything, these are the dates that are coming up. Okay, I think if we can go to the next slide. ADS materials. Again, those are the lists that we have when we send out emails. If you could make sure that that is up to date. And again, I will run an ADS list that today, and I'll put it into that Google folder to make sure, because I think there were some folks that wanted it corrected from the June meeting into now, and so we can make sure that it's all corrected. Okay, and what do we have? I think the next slide. Mailing lists. You might have received a list from an email reminding you of this because you're on the coordinator list, and then you also signed up for the Cal APA news, and you might have gotten this email twice. Again, twice is better than zero. So but by all means, please sign up for these email lists when we have announcements, things coming up. It'll be materials that are outside of the PSD sometimes, but also reminding of what's in the PSD. I know that sometimes the PSD email list can be kind of long and performance assessments kind of at the end, but these are some email lists that we have. All right. Let me see about, I want to just get back to some of the questions that were in the chat because there's quite a few. About tech support, not always available. And so that's another piece of the sandbox conversation I think that we were having. Yes, video editing tools can be, different, and it could be a different, what people have access to. We just wanted to make sure we gave people the opportunity to do video editing. A person with edited videos versus a person with continuous videos, they won't be scored, like there won't be any preference to the scoring. We're looking for the evidence that's in the rubric. And so if a candidate, I think Beth said, just don't have edited videos if they don't know how to do it. That's perfectly acceptable. Again, this was just another way for folks to really highlight and show what they know. And so when I was a program coordinator, I used to talk to the tech team at the university, and I would let them know candidates may come in because they need to make video clips. This is the stipulations. I used to go talk to the writing center. Candidates are doing this performance assessment and they need help with grammar and editing and such. And so I would explain those things to them. So when the candidates came to me, because these were things that they paid for in their tuition and fees. And so these resources. When I was at a county office of education, they didn't have that same access to on-campus materials, but I would connect with other departments within our county office of education to be able to point candidates towards help and resources. Around technical issues, around grammar and editing and such for these materials. And those are all absolutely acceptable supports for candidates to be able to, get their materials. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So the change, there's a question about why changes. They're not all necessary. There was just an agreement among executive leadership here at the commission that we at CalAPA were going to align with what changes were being implemented for teacher performance assessment, and to the degree that it's appropriate, changes were made. And there were a lot of positive reviews around commentary versus annotation. And that was one thing that we felt that would be brought over that might be able to help candidates, especially as they are getting their information down on paper. So that's some of the reasoning behind why some of these changes were made. Okay. I'm just kind of looking through the questions that I have.
Yeah, Marissa, we will confirm. A lot of people on the website, it does say Ed Specialist, TPA. We're going to get that title changed. So thank you, Beth, and the rest of them for chiming in, because I saw that also. So we'll get that changed for the school reporting dates, get the title changed and confirm the dates.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw another question. The number of videos that a candidate submits, none of that has changed. The only thing that's changed is whether they annotate the videos or provide commentary for the videos. So that was a question about, yeah. I recognize that I'm just looking at the comment about, in office hours, candidates coming to argue condition codes. Yeah, it's a big part of what they do, and people expect to pass at a certain time, and they have plans, and but if evidence is missing or evidence has been determined to be staged or scripted, then that's, moving forward, that's the decision that's made. But again, it's not made by just one person, it's made by a team. And so hopefully hopefully candidates will come to, and the vast majority of candidates come to those office hours with questions, or they just want to listen to hear other people's questions. In teacher performance assessment, candidate office hours, we'll have some folks that say, I know I have to do this TPA thing and I don't know anything about it, and I haven't even gotten into my classes yet, but I really want to just hear about it. And so it could be an opportunity for folks that are in that situation for APA as well, that just want to listen. So, Tish, I saw you had your hand up. I'm sorry, I just chit chat away.
No, that's okay. What time is it again for that monthly PLC meeting? I
We
was
were planning on doing, I think it's like the second
You said
Friday
second Friday, but
at 11 to 12.
11 to 12. Okay, I just wondered what the time was. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
And there's a question about the CalAPA new coordinator orientation. So we'll get some information out about that as
Right,
also.
absolutely. We had the date published. It's going to be a 9 to noon meeting this year, and the registration is in this presentation. And like I said, I will PDF this and put it right into the Google folder as soon as we're done with today's meetings. And let me see here.
And we normally include a results analyzer 101 during those trainings too. So those of you that have identified that you are new, we will have some training for results analyzer and ed reports.
Yeah, that was part of why we asked you to kind of identify where you are with the CalAPA, because if we saw a bunch of people that are like, I've been doing this for a long time, we know how to gear our trainings. But if we see a significant number of folks that are brand new or moderate level understanding, we want to make sure that we're supporting folks in that way. And so thank you for letting us know where you are with things, and so that way we can definitely put those results analyzer trainings and other materials in the schedule so we can support folks. So I think the best way, Joe, to add a new coordinator is to add it to the ADS. And then we can follow up for you. We don't necessarily manage the data on the ADS, but we can definitely forward your information to the folks that do manage the ADS to ensure that they are listed as the program coordinator. They can also sign up for the CalAPA list. That way we can make sure we can push out materials to them. And again, any faculty, any other folks, mentors, people that are associated with your program, they're absolutely available to sign up for this list and get some information. Commentary for each video. So the commentary template, it's one template for all the videos, but there is each video that you would that a candidate would upload, and then the prompts that go with are listed in that that template. So they won't have a separate template for each video. It's one template with all the prompts on it. If that did that answer, Karen? I'm sorry, I want to just make sure. Okay. So they would upload the commentary, Alex, sorry, they would upload the commentary template once. It would have one spot for commentary for, the step, I think it's step 3 in cycle 2, where they have their videos and their commentary. So they would just upload it once. So, Diane, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I know what your question is.
Sure. Marissa,
Yes.
is it a separate commentary form, one for step 2, and then a commentary for the videos for step 3?
So any any video that would have had annotations will have associated commentary within that same step. So
Got it.
So in cycle 2 and in cycle 3, wherever videos are, they will have a commentary, if that makes sense. Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe we can go to the next slide. I think we have a couple more slides. Oh, just some link to our YouTube channel and our new address. The commission buildings have moved to the Mailey State Complex, but they did that about last year. And I think the next one's the last slide with some email address. Yeah. You know, as I reflect on these things and think about, you know, the tremendous work that Gay Roby did, and all the different conversations I had with her before she left, and she weighed in on some of this material. Some of it came out of the effort and work of the RDI TPA work group, but because she is no longer with the commission, there are two separate spaces for managing program questions and then CalAPA questions. CASK email address, those are those great questions about a candidate coming into your program, admission, things of that nature. And then the CalAPA is that, you know, questions specific to the performance assessment. So those are those email addresses. For technical support for programs, that es-calapa@pearson.com is a great email address to send questions to, and the website that is in process of being updated as well, because it is there are some changes and moving parts here, and this was just a kind of a sneak peek in before everything gets final and formalized, and then, like I said, we'll hopefully not have any other issues with rubrics or templates going forward, but and until we version 9. But thank you so very much for your participation today, for your engagement, for all of the great questions that you all have, and in your support in moving new administrators, you know, forward in their preparation. Absolutely. I think I saw a question about contacting me directly. I do absolutely have my email address that I will put in the chat. And I am actually, out of all the things, looking forward to those PLCs the most, starting in October, to be able to interact with all of you on a more you know, less me talking or teaching space. Sorry, I'm just but so that way we can, you know, come together and talk through, you know, some of these things to better support folks as they pursue their administrative credentials. But thank you very much for your attendance today, and please let us know if you have any questions. We're busy at work getting all this stuff together, and yeah, but thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.